What a test match. That was an absolute banger of a game, and the final whistle has just blown in Dunedin, and these are my immediate thoughts following the final whistle between New Zealand and England. The game has literally just finished. Just watching Jamie George have a chat, and Scott Barrett's just been chatting as well. So the game's just finished. So I'm going to try and make as much sense as I can in this one, but get your comments in down below. How much did you enjoy that game? I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. Give the video a thumbs up as well, because this needs to be shared far and wide. What an advert for rugby. Now, I love the Premiership, URC, Top 14, Super Rugby, Champions Cup even is a really, really high standard. But international test rugby with top test teams is something very, very special. And that was awesome. And spoiler alert, if you don't know the result and you don't want to know, look away. But well done, New Zealand. The two teams that in the semi-final and final of the Rugby World Cup lost by a single point to South Africa in consecutive weekends. This time played out a 1-point game that was in the balance right till the very end. But well done to New Zealand. A win for Razor in his first game, 16-15. Just an awesome test match though. I am disappointed. As an England fan, that game was there for the taking, and a little bit of naivety at times. But I'm also very proud because there's clearly some development, and this English team are legit. And I was thinking about this. Had New Zealand lost that game by a point, the narrative, as I spoke about a couple of days ago, the narrative would have been, oh, it's Razor's first game, they're rusty, they're going to get better. The flip side of that is England had no game tape whatsoever to prepare to play this New Zealand team. They were guessing how they were going to set up. So they had to kind of put the focus on themselves. And I thought they executed what they wanted to really well for the most part. And they'll come away thinking they should have won that game. And I think the way I described it in the week was, if New Zealand lost 2-0, it would be a disaster. And even 1-1 should be a massive disappointment in New Zealand. They could have lost that test match. England could have won. And I think that says two things. It says New Zealand are going to get better. England are also going to get better, but they are a legit team right now. What I like about England, just big picture thinking immediately following the final whistle, what I really enjoyed about that is the layers that are being built on top of what they did at the Rugby World Cup. At the Rugby World Cup, England made themselves really, really hard to beat. And they had a very simple game plan, and those were the foundations. And Steve Borthwick did the same thing at Leicester, and then he started developing the attack, and we're seeing that. I think the bench is one area where New Zealand were better than England. But I'll come to that. I'll come to that. And I think for Scott Robertson's first game in charge, he should feel very happy with that one. The fact that they toughed it out and found a way to win, and actually tweaked the way they played in the second half to much greater effect. But overall, just a brilliant, brilliant match. It's funny watching, so I'm in South Africa right now. I'm in a new hotel, Hatfields in Pretoria. I'll be going to the South Africa Ireland game in a little bit. And it's so close to Loftus Versfeld. I was just down having breakfast earlier. Went out for a park run earlier because I wanted to see what altitude felt like running. Spoiler alert, feels tough on your lungs. But I came back for breakfast. There were box shirts everywhere in this hotel because it's really convenient. So if you are ever travelling to South Africa for a game at Loftus Versfeld, URC International, the new hotel Hatfield would be a good shout. But I'm looking forward to going to the game later. But I was watching on SuperSport, and it was the New Zealand commentary, Sky Sports. They are partisan. They really are. And I don't mind that. I quite enjoy it. You know what you're going to get. I like it. Same as I actually, and this might be an controversial statement for some, I quite like the booing of the kicker. Marcus Smith got booed every time he stepped up to kick. I don't mind that. I like it when places have their own identity, and it just makes it a bit more fun. I think dead silence is more intimidating than booing anyway. And the siren at half-time and full-time, I was about to dive under the desk. Thought it was like an air raid coming in. Anyway, frantic start. Breakdowns were wild the whole match, weren't they? And England's blitz defence versus D-Mac and Stephen Perifetta trying to pick holes in that D was the story of the first half. England were just leaving space out wide and inviting New Zealand to use it. And this is the Felix Jones system. He did this with South Africa. It's high risk, but it can be high reward. And actually, I think for the most part, it paid off for England. And New Zealand were trying to get to the outside a lot. And England were managing to catch them behind the gain line as a result and get turnovers and get momentum as a result. The scrum was one area where it started off well for England, big concern, which I'll talk about in a bit. But Joe Marler won the scrum penalty. Marcus Smith missed the kick. And then the first points of the game, Mark Telea, slippery wingers. Oh my goodness. The slipperiest wingers in world rugby New Zealand have got, Rees and Telea. And it was Telea that got through England's blitz defence. Penalty advantage in his back pocket. D-Mac rolled the dice. Crossfield kick. Sevu Rees, man on the spot. Awesome try. Really, really good. And that was one of those occasions where England leaving the space out wide was exploited brilliantly by New Zealand. Big moment in the game. Finn Baxter coming on after 17 minutes for his debut. I mean, who knew? Children are allowed to play international rugby. Did you know that? I didn't know that. He has got the most baby face of anyone. How can an international rugby player, especially a front row, have a face like Finn Baxter's? It's wonderful. So yeah, England brought on a 12-year-old and he got humped in the first scrum and I was worried. But I have to say, fair play Finn Baxter. 63 minutes on the pitch in your debut away in New Zealand and to put in that performance, fair play. And England have got problems. I've been talking about the issue with depth at scrum time. Well done, Finn Baxter. Awesome stuff. And England went into the lead. It was their defence that won the turnovers. Like I say, New Zealand were trying to go wide. England were catching them behind the gain line, getting the turnovers. A line-out move, Maro Itoje. A little bit too easy if you're a New Zealander, I'd say. But strength, power, and a bit of deception at the line-out. And England were over for a score. And after 20 minutes, they were 7-5 up. Alex Mitchell was really prominent. D-Mac was looking great, though. I love his passing. His distribution is so lovely. Short passes, long passes. He's just got a box of tricks. But then New Zealand took the lead again when Ardie Savia went over for a try. Again, it all started from a dominant scrum. Finn Baxter getting it handed to him by Terrell Lomax. And then Stephen Perifetta with that little hitch kick. And, I mean, not one for Ben Earl's highlight reel. He was immense again, but he was at fault for that one. Perifetta danced around him. Savia in the right corner. Another really good try. And this was England's shakiest period of the match. The grubber kicks they were trying were not working. There were holes appearing in their defence. D-Mac was just passing beautifully. TJ Perenara, I hope he's okay. At the same time, the way he got injured at that breakdown, which I thought he'd recovered, but then he went off at half-time. I hope he's okay. But it was George Martin with a counter-ruck. I love George Martin so much. He is so hard. He's a proper enforcer, and he's 22. I'm so excited about him. But his counter-ruck was totally legal, just a rugby incident, but TJ injured, and Finlay Christie came on at half-time. I do hope, I'll say it again, I do hope TJ Perenara is okay. But England's defence won them a penalty and a 10-all score at half-time. An awesome half of rugby, nothing to separate the two teams, and thinking to be done in the sheds. For New Zealand, clearly what Scott Robertson said was, you're playing a bit too much into England's hands, trying to get to the outside where England were leaving the space. Let's go a little bit more direct. And that paid massive dividends for New Zealand in the second half. England, though, had New Zealand rattled in that second half. They really did. The crowd started to go quiet. England were on top. They were playing phases. They were bashing holes. Marcus Smith was picking his options. And the pressure told with an excellent try finished by Emmanuel Fei-Waboso in the left-hand side, off his right wing on the left. And England were looking great at the start of that second half. But then the game became tighter and tighter, more about territory. The All Blacks started going more and more direct. And I think really the difference between these two teams is the benches. And that's not a criticism of England. It's just where they are at the moment. New Zealand had so much rugby IQ to bring off that bench. The 70 caps of Anton Linnett-Brown, the however many billions of caps Bodie Barrett's got. Fletcher Newell and Ofa Tu'ungafasi have played in big games before. England, Auma, I was really impressed with him off the bench. Massive impact. England's bench, not nearly as good. And that's just where England are at the minute. I'm pleased, though, that Steve Borthwick gave him some game time because they'll be better for it. But I think the best team won in the end, albeit there was a few decisions where I thought maybe New Zealand were a little bit lucky. On the 10-metre line, England had the ball and Geordie Barrett just looked like he flopped off his feet and then grabbed the ball when he was on the deck. Looked illegal to me, but I am looking through rose-tinted glasses, perhaps, my English-coloured lenses, or whatever analogy I'm trying to say. I thought England were hard done by on that one, but actually overall, I thought Amasha Kelly, is a very good referee. And he let things go a bit at the breakdown, but I don't mind that because it made for a really good game and he was fair to both teams. So no complaints on that point of view. Although I have just complained about one particular penalty, but it was a couple of Damien McKenzie penalties that made the difference in the second half, and they came from New Zealand going direct, sucking in English numbers, and England having to concede the penalties because their defence was under pressure. New Zealand solved the puzzle of how to win that game, and that's what was impressive. And it was guys like Beauden Barrett, and you had those kicking boot. You had the two Barrett brothers in the back line with their boot. Finlay Christie, a good kicker of the ball as well. They were just able to control a bit more of the territory. Damien McKenzie just made it interesting by timing out his penalty kick at the end. I'm sure he just did that for a grandstand finish. Scott Robertson did not look impressed with that one. But a great game. Absolutely brilliant game. And as an Englishman, I'm really proud of that performance. And I'm hopeful for where England are going. They're a legit team. I also I want as many teams as possible to be really good at the top end. I hope Ireland make it competitive against South Africa. I hope Wales v Australia is a really good spectacle. But if that is a measure of how things are going to go through this international window, we're in for an absolute treat. If you appreciate the content on the channel, I would absolutely love it if you would hit subscribe and give the video a thumbs up, help spread the word. Leave your comments down below. Your instant thoughts following that game. Like I say, there's things I will have missed, not thought about, because I'm just hitting record straight after the game. But I'll be back again with more thoughts at a later time. I will see you on the next one.